NFL free agency began yesterday, although it's not official until Wednesday. Many teams made many trades, but which team won? Find out when we come back.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 45 minutes.
You done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
You got knocked the fuck out! What's happening?
Yes, NFL free agency is open, but only for negotiation and legal tampering. But it officially starts on Wednesday. But which team won? Vikings, okay, they agreed to sign Sam Arnold, and he has a chance to possibly be the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings after they lost Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. Now watch out, because Atlanta is loaded, and Kirk Cousins is a dynamic passer. How will he respond after the Achilles heel injury? We will see, but it looks like the makings of something fantastic. The Jets, they are still at it. They picked up Tyrod Taylor, and they offered him a deal for 2 years, $18 million. Tyrod Taylor could be a starter in this league. Tyrod Taylor is really good. So this is a big pickup for the Jets. But here's the thing. How will A-Rod be? Will Aaron Rodgers really be back after the Achilles injury? And how will the Jets look? Because last year was really the test for the Jets. But as you know, Aaron Rodgers went down after only 3 plays. So this is a big year for the Jets, and I think they secured a great backup in Tyrod Taylor. So this is getting interesting. As you know, the Panthers need a lot of help. They brought in Bryce Young last year, and he didn't amount to what they thought he would as the number 1 pick. So instead of trading him, they're showing some support, believing in him, and they're reassuring up their offensive line. So kudos to Carolina. Hopefully this will show some progress, and Bryce Young will be able to soar as you initially anticipated when you drafted him. Now, the Bengals are interesting. I like the Bengals. They're talented, very talented, but they let go of their running back, Joe Mixon. However, the Texans signed him today, and the Texans are all that. But when they let go Joe Mixon, they also signed the running back, Zach Moss. Now, Mixon is a big loss for the Bengals. Now, we're going to have to see how this thing materializes, because he's been with them. He spent 7 seasons with the Bengals, and after they picked him up in the 2nd round in 2017. So depending on how Joe Burrows come back, and it's all riding on Joe Burrows, and he had a major leg injury. And the jury, I think, is out on Joe Burrow. Like, he's a fantastic quarterback, but is he a lemon? Is he injury prone? He's been injured almost every year. His skill set is dynamic. He's super smart. He's accurate. And he's tough. He's a bona fide leader, but can he stay healthy? Time will tell. Hopefully Zach Moss will be able to contribute to that. They signed Zach Moss to a 2-year, $8 million deal. Now, again, the running backs stock is down, but you still see some running backs getting some pretty lucrative deals. Now, the Seahawks re-signed D lineman Leonard Williams. The Patriots, they add a quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. Now, Jacoby Brissett, all he do is ball out anywhere he go, whether backup or starter. He's always ready, and if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. Now, Jason Brissett, he returns to New England. He's been there before, so he signed for 1 year for $8 million. The Seattle Seahawks, last year, I believe a lot of people may think that they had a disappointing year because of the year they had before, in which they surprised a lot of people and did well. Last year, they were kind of mediocre, but they signed the tight end. They also got a new coach this year, but they signed Noah Fant. So hopefully that'll be helpful to the Seahawks. The Texans, now, the Texans are looking great. They're looking real good. So they released one of their former linebackers. They released one of the Titans' former linebackers. The Patriots also they re-signed Michael Onwenu. So he re-signs with the Patriots. So they're solidifying their offense, but they need a lot of help because they let go of Mac Jones, and Mac Jones, he fell into a great situation with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So now he may actually be able to fight for a starting quarterback position, because let's not count, Mac Jones off so fast. Because if you remember, when he came out of Alabama, he had a pretty fair rookie year, but then he made the Pro Bowl. It wasn't until last year he didn't look good, but when they was moving him back and forth with Zappe, but they didn't have an offensive coordinator. So I blame Belichick for this a bit. So I think going to Jacksonville, with their coach, and he's used to be a quarterback himself, so he will be able to see who Mac Jones really is in Jacksonville. Don't be surprised if he ends up being a starter, but time will tell. Now, Austin Eckler. He was upset last year because he wanted to resign, and he was the running back that took the initiative to call a Zoom meeting with all the other running backs, and he wanted to discuss how the market for the running backs was being devalued. He tried to poker face the Chargers and hold out because he wanted more money, but he didn't get what he wanted. They did restructure his contract a bit, but he didn't overwhelm him financially. So now he actually left. He's now signed with the Washington Commanders. So kudos to Austin Eckler for being a leader with the running backs, but also hopefully success to you in the future. Now his deal is worth up to $11.43 million. I don't know how many years it's for. 2 years, up to $12 million. So that's pretty all right for Austin Eckler. So the Giants, they signed a star pass rusher, Brian Burns. He's the real deal. They agreed to trade with Carolina Panthers for Brian Burns. Now, in return, the Panthers, they get a 2nd round and 5th round draft pick. And Brian Burns signed a 5-year, $150 million extension. So he's about to do the thing. Now, the Lions emerged really big last year. Offense is incredible. Running game is superior. But they got some holes on defense, specifically the cornerback position. But they're trying to fill up some of these holes, and they made a big acquisition by trading for the cornerback Carlton Davis in a deal with the Bucs. So the Lions acquired Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay will receive the Lions 2024 3rd round draft pick, while the Lions will also get 2 6th round picks as part of the deal. Can you say Gardner Minshew? Yes, because he, Shane Steichen, he's the quarterback whisperer. He reignited Gardner Minshew's career with the Indianapolis Colts, and now he went and got him a deal with the Raiders. Absolutely, and it's up to 2 years for $25 million. That's great for Minshew. Ravens grab a safety. I think the safeties are the next position to start getting devalued. I saw maybe 8 safeties get released right before the free agency started. So the running backs, they're kind of trying to get back on pace, increasing their value. But I think the safety position, they're going to start targeting them maybe to get devalued. So hopefully the safeties can unite and add more value to that position. I guess the game is getting so fast that the cornerbacks are becoming more interchangeable in the slot and, on the outside. So they're figuring if they can be interchangeable in the slot and all that, they're basically a safety. So let's see how this goes, if the safeties will continue to get devalued like they are the running backs, or what will happen with that. Now, the safety agreed to a 2-year, $15 million deal. That's Geno Stone for the Ravens. All right, now speaking of the Ravens, they let go of their running back, Gus Edwards. And they used him as a fullback, and there's not many fullbacks in the league. So, he always stood out. But now Jim Harbaugh snatched him up, with the Chargers out there. So I think they're going to use him real well. Harbaugh's a great offensive mind. So the former Baltimore Ravens running back Gus Edwards reached an agreement with the Chargers for 2-year deal, and for how much is not disclosed. The Giants, they let go of Saquon Barkley. And again, thank you, Giants, because we grabbed them, the Philadelphia Eagles. And in my opinion, the Philadelphia Eagles has the best front office in the NFL. In my opinion, the Philadelphia Eagles won this free agency, or maybe in addition to 1 or 2 other teams, but the Eagles is definitely one of the main winners of this free agency. Now, the Giants, again, they let go of Saquon Barkley, and again, we signed them with the Eagles. The Packers also signed a big name safety. They're trying to shore up that defense because they're in the contention. Their quarterback, he's the real deal. And they made a run, the second round of the playoffs. They knocked off Dallas first round. So it's interesting. So the Packers are the real deal. So let's see how they emerge this year by shoring up some of that defense, signing the safety and Xavier McKinney. He signed for some cash too, 4 years, $68 million. That's pretty good. The Patriots, again, they release wide receiver Devontae Parker, but best believe somebody gonna pick him up. Robert Hunt gets a 5-year, $100 million deal from the Panthers. So that's a pretty good deal for the Panthers. Now, the former Miami Dolphins standout secured a $5 million contract with the Carolina Panthers. This is great. This is really good. Like I said, the Panthers are shoring up those lines. so that they can be better and put Bryce Young in a better position for success and ultimately put their team in a better position for success. The Vikings, again, they add defense with a linebacker. You know, they signed a former Texans linebacker, Blake Cashman, to 3-year, $25.5 million contract. That's pretty good. Vikings making a lot of noise in this offseason. They also land another pass rusher in Andrew Van Ginkel. And Van Ginkel signed for a deal worth up to $20 million and $14 million signing bonus. So $14 million is guaranteed. Now, speaking of Saquon Barkley, now here's the thing. It hurts my heart to see DeAndre Swift leave. You know, he's Philly grown, Philly's own. You know, his dad was a baller too. We love DeAndre Swift, but I think Saquon is more what we need because Saquon is an everyday back. I thought DeAndre Swift was, but the football experts think differently. They think he's not an every down back. They say he's a little too small, not as durable as a Saquon Barkley who can do it all, and he catches out the backfield well, and he can take it the distance. So we got our most complete running back that we've had since Shady McCoy and Saquon Barkley, in my view. So kudos to the Eagles. Now, Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles agreed to a 3-year deal worth $37.75 million. So basically $38 million, and it's worth he could get up to almost $47 million, including 26 fully guaranteed. So that's a big deal for running back. So this is great. You know, the Giants didn't want to, you know, they franchise tagged him last year. They didn't want to re him up, you know. So even with Jones, they read up Jones last year, the quarterback, and not Saquon Barkley, basically saying indirectly that Jones is more important than Barkley, which is not the case. And I think that's why the Giants are in the basement now, because they invested more in Jones than in Barkley. So now, but thank you, Giants. Thank you, New York. Let's go, Philly. You know, here we go. We love Saquon now, and we welcome you with open arms. Josh Jacobs signed, and Aaron Jones got cut. So the Packers picked up Josh Jacobs. They go again, solidifying, you know, again, adding defense. But again, that running back to that offense, woo, that's going to make them so much better. They cut Aaron Jones, but today, Aaron Jones was picked up by you-know-who, the Vikings. So as you see, I think the Eagles won the free agency, but the Vikings, they may have won as well. So the Eagles and Vikings winners of the early free agency. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a baller. And Kirk Cousins loves to bet on himself, which is the greatest bet you can make. And Kirk Cousins, when he bets on himself, he wins. Kirk Cousins has made over $300 million. Oh, zip. Bad mistake. He's made over $300 million in his NFL career thus far, and he got much more football to play. Not to mention, he was like a 4th-round draft pick. So Kirk Cousins is definitely overachieving, and he solidified a big name for himself in the league. He's just signed with the Atlanta Falcons. They're loaded. That's only going, you know, we're going to really see what Atlanta can do from their tight end to their running back. Their offense should be one of the best in the league. They should win that division. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kirk Cousins. And I told you the Eagles won the draft, but it wasn't just with Barkley. You know, they also brought in a pass rusher. We always be getting after the quarterback, but last year we kind of slipped a little bit. I think partly was coaching, but also personnel. So we brought in Bryce Huff, and the Eagles agreed on a 3-year deal worth $51 million contract with Bryce Huff. So hopefully this will help us to solidify that pass rushing / linebacker position. He also joins Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham, who they just re-signed. So go Eagles. You're always doing it big. You're always doing your thing. Rams signed Kevin Dotson last week. They also signed guard Jonah Jackson to a 3-year deal for $51 million with $34 million guaranteed. So Dan Quinn bringing over former Dallas players. So Dan Quinn, most recently defensive coordinator for the former NFC rival, which is Dallas Cowboys. Now he's with the Commander, but he's agreed on terms with the center, Tyler Biadasz, and defensive end, Dorrance Armstrong Jr. So again, that's just smart of Coach Quinn. He's familiar with these players. He's had history with these players. He's been to battle with these players. He's been in a foxhole with these players. He's been coaching and working out these players when he was defensive coordinator for Dallas Cowboys. So now he's the head coach for the Washington Commanders. So why not invest in what you know is already a good investment? So kudos to you, Dan Quinn. The Raiders, woo! They're shaking it up. They make it official that they allowed their head coach to be official. He's officially the head coach. And now they're making deals. They're willing and dealing. The Las Vegas Raiders agreeing to terms on a 4-year, $110 million contract with former Miami Dolphins tackle Christian Wilkins. And that's $84.75 million guaranteed. So basically $85 million guaranteed. And here's the thing. He deserves it because he's a baller. Wilkins definitely gets after the quarterback. Jaguars, they add a wide receiver, Gabe Davis. Now, again, the Jaguars are loaded. They got receivers. They're loaded, but they're still adding to the arsenal. Gabe Davis, he agreed to terms for 3 years, $39 million. That's great for the Jaguars. The Titans, they're trying to solidify their front line with Lloyd Cushenberry. Now, Lloyd Cushenberry, the Texans need a lot of help. At least they got a quarterback. I think they're going to go, with the quarterback from last year. He had some good success, the young rookie. So let's see what he does this year. Hopefully they can put some help, some support around them. So the Texans, and they got a new coach as well. So hopefully the Texans can get back to their winning ways. Tony Pollard, former Dallas Cowboy. My views of Tony Pollard is this. I think Tony Pollard is better than he showed last year. Because if you remember, Tony Pollard came off a torn ACL last year. He only had 1 year to recover. So last year, he did okay, but we didn't see the explosion that we're used to seeing with Tony Pollard. We didn't see the second and third gear from Tony Pollard, him taking it to the distance like we're accustomed to. And I think that's contributed to his injury. This year will be the year Tony Pollard emerges and get back to his old self. But unfortunately, he won't be doing it with the Dallas Cowboys. He's joining the Tennessee Titans. Like I said, if I had to pick a winner or two winners, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. But here's Minnesota again, picking up Jonathan Greenard. Jonathan Greenard agreed to a 4-year deal for $76 million. With the Vikings are making big moves. So DeAndre Swift, as I mentioned earlier, he was traded from the Eagles, but he landed in a good spot in my view. Chicago Bears. It's cold, but DeAndre Swift was already accustomed to that coming from Philadelphia. It's not as cold as Chicago, but it's bad winters here in Philadelphia. But Chicago's a little different, the Windy City. But at Swifty, I think you're going to have a lot of success. They got some talent there in Chicago. New coach, and we're going to see what they do with Justin Fields, if that's going to be your quarterback, or are you going to draft a quarterback from USC, which is projected the number 1 pick, because Chicago does have the number 1 pick in this year's draft. Firmly believe that Swift will make the Chicago Bears a better team. Yes. Time will tell, but that's what I think. Michael Pittman Jr., he agreed to terms with Indianapolis Colts. He's a wide receiver standout for the Colts, and he agreed to a 3-year, $70 million deal with the Colts. Jaguars, they're making a lot of noise too. If I had to choose a runner-up for the winners of the Eagles and the Vikings, it would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're adding to their offensive line, signing Mitch Morse. After getting released by the Buffalo Bills last week, he agreed to a 2-year, $10.5 million deal with $7 million signing bonus. Jaguars is doing their thing. T. Higgins. Here's the Bengals again. Now, T. Higgins, Bengals got a top 3 wide receiver crew. And with Joe Burrow, they're questionably the best core in the league with the wide receivers and the quarterback. But they got to stay healthy, and not to mention the receivers are coming up for paydays. So T. Higgins he was franchise tagged last week. And I guess now he's challenging the franchise tag because yesterday he asked for a trade. They franchise tagged T. Higgins, and now he's asking for a trade, and he's frustrated with the team regarding the lack of progress toward a long-term contract. So I think T. Higgins is starting to get frustrated because he knew that he wasn't the number 1 guy, but he is a number 1 receiver. But he's just not their number 1 guy. So they franchise tagged him, but I think T. Higgins wants to be the number 1 guy, and he has the ability to be that. But Jamar Chase is the Cincinnati's number one guy. And I think T. Higgins is starting to feel some kind of way. So he asked for a trade. And I think somebody may scoop him up if they're willing to offer Cincinnati what they want for him. Because I know Cincinnati is going to want a pretty big penny. There's 3 teams that are in the runnings and are probably going to make a push to get T. Higgins. The Carolina Panthers, and this will be tremendous for Bryce Young. They're trying to solidify the offensive line. Getting a star receiver like T. Higgins will take Carolina to another level. The Tennessee Titans, this will be good if he went there. Not as good as Carolina. I don't think they have enough weapons. They're still figuring out their quarterback to a degree. They got a lot of missing parts. And the New England Patriots, I don't think that this will be the best fit either because there's so many moving parts. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be, a new coach. I think the Carolina Panthers will probably be the best landing spot for T. Higgins if they're willing to give up what Cincinnati will want for him. I don't know what they want, but I know it's going to be a lot because T. Higgins is that bull. The Colts, they bring back their linebacker, Zaire Franklin. Now, he's a middle linebacker and he signed to a 3-year extension. They don't mention the value of what he signed for. The Lions, Detroit is making moves too. Graham Glasgow, he agreed to a new 3-year contract with the Lions worth $20 million. Russell Wilson, Russell Cook, he's going to be cooking in Pittsburgh now. He's no longer with the Denver Broncos. However, Denver Broncos is still on the hook for fitting that bill. They still owe Russell about $40+ million in his contract, even though they cut him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers got him for cheap. They got a very solid veteran Super Bowl winning quarterback for $1.2 million.
Wow. Because
Denver is fitting the rest of the bill. What do you think Russell Wilson is going to do in Pittsburgh? Do you think this Pittsburgh is offensively, they got talent and defensively as well. They got a strong running game. They got receivers. They got a pretty all right line. The great coach, one of the best coaches in NFL history that people don't say, but he's just a winner and a bona fide leader. With the addition of Russell Wilson, in my view, I think that makes Pittsburgh Steelers one of the favorites to win that division. Although it's a difficult division, I think they're one of the favorites to win. I think Russell Wilson's addition to Pittsburgh will not only make them better as a team football-wise and schematically, but I also think it's going to make them better because of Russell's veteran leadership. Many people give Russell a bad deal with, saying he's a diva, he's a prima donna.
Oh my God.
He's too needy. He's not a leader. He's more about himself. I disagree. I think that Russell Wilson just has a different type of leadership style. He's more of a leader by example. He's not as vocal. He always takes the high road, and he almost avoids conflict and controversy, which is difficult to do and be an effective leader, but it's still possible and you can, but it's almost like he's not comfortable with having difficult conversations. It's almost like he doesn't want to, in any way, shape or form diminish how he's viewed by the people. I don't ascribe to that type of leadership, but I do believe in Russell Wilson. I do believe, and this is what people don't say when they discuss Russell Wilson. They always talk about how his last year with Seattle wasn't good. They talk about how his first year with Denver wasn't good and how last year was better with Denver. Well, let's dispel some of these misnomers, because what they leave out is that before Russell Wilson got injured his last year with the Seahawks, in which he forced his way back too early on an injury on his throwing hand. So before he got injured, we were talking about that this could possibly be Russell Wilson's first time being considered an MVP of the NFL. The first part of the last year that he was playing with Seattle, he was looking that good. And then he got injured, broke his hand, rushed back too early before the anticipated time, probably wasn't always ready. But before that injury, Russell went 10 years, never missing a game. So it was in him to just come back and just be consistent. But I think he came back too early. And as a result, he didn't do well the rest of his last year with Seattle. Then coming into Denver, it still was on a piggyback of that. So, still uncertain, first time playing for a new team. So he had to adjust with all these different conditions, new head coach that wasn't real good and all these other things. And I think it just was a big adjustment that Russell Wilson couldn't overcome to the ability that he thought he could. But then last year, even though he got a new coach, he adjusted a little better and we saw flashes of what Russell Wilson could be. I believe that next year in Pittsburgh, with a great coach like Tomlin, that is a player's coach, because Russell Wilson and his dad was really close. He's a daddy's boy. Russell Wilson, his dad passed away, I believe, when he was in college, but Russell Wilson dedicated his football to his dad. That's his guy. So Russell Wilson, I believe, appeals better to people that were more like their dad. And I believe that that's how Tomlin is. Watch out for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. With the addition of Russell Wilson, I believe that they're going to go to the top and make some big noise again this year. So that I believe that Russell Wilson is a great acquisition for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who do you think won this free agency period? Now it's official.